Now his whole idea, Lafontaine was like, yeah, about the same thing around 75. He wrote his book Caddis Flies, and they used to do a lot of underwater stuff, and they claim that, you know, the caddis have bubbles and they sparkle coming up, and that's where he came up with this Antron yarn. And if you can see how it kind of shines, it was probably rug yarn, but in the 70s you'd go to a yarn shop and buy a skein of the stuff for like $2, and they had all these different colors. I've got skeins of all that, but it's trilobal yarn is what it was. So the actual fibers were shaped like that, the clear fibers, and they claimed that when the light went through it, like refracted light. Now, you can still get this stuff from Stockard. I think, like Dean was talking, that Spirit River has it, UV stuff. But the other thing you can do, it works just as well. In fact, one of those flies has it. I've actually taken Antron. You take Antron dubbing, and you can make the shuck out of Antron dubbing instead of the yarn. Now, the yarn is a little easier, and then it's easier to be consistent with the same amount of material, but it comes out just as cool with by taking dubbing, and you kind of, I'll show you how to do that, and then you can actually fold it over your for the outside covering too. But so if you can't find the yarn, you can always use Antron dubbing, and I think Spirit River still sells them, or Wapsie. One of them sells the Antron dubbing still. So I'm going to put about 8 wraps on this one, because I want this thing to get down. And the lead's going to go right basically in the middle of the hook. And you can use what I use whatever thread kind of matches the head, and for the head I like to use ostrich, but you can use dubbing or you can use marabou fibers too. But mostly I've used 12s and 14s in a hollow. We're going to do the rust-colored one, which represents the hydropsychic caddis, which is one of the most prevalent caddis around. So I got my lead on just like I did on the black AP. I want to coat it with head cement. So I whacked off about inch and a quarter of yarn, and this is 4-ply yarn, so I'm going to separate it all into individual plies, and I'm going to use 2 plies out of the 4 for the fly. So to do the shuck, I'm going to put one ply of yarn on either side. So I'm going to do the yarn, I'm going to tie it on like that, one on either side, and I'm going to wind all the way back. Now, if you don't have the yarn, you can take dubbing. You take this dubbing and you kind of card it out, so you want everything going in the same direction. And I'm just going to take not too many fibers. I'm going to gather it up. And I'm going to do the same thing I would do with the yarn. I'm going to tie in a hank of this stuff on either side. So I'd have one on either side, so eventually, and then I'm just going to fold it over just like I'm going to do the yarn. So if you can't find the yarn, you can use Antron dubbing. It looks just as good. The only problem is getting the same amount all the time. Whereas with the yarn, you've got the same thing all the time. It's consistent.
The fibers are all the same.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have 2 strands. Yeah, so, but that's no big deal. You can work that out. So, a couple wraps. I'm going to tie that on. Cut off the excess. And I'm going to tie another one on this side. Cut that off. And you want to trap them both on each side of the hook. I'm going to come back here just past the bar, so I'm down the curve just a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to take my dubbing needle, and I want to rag through this yarn. I want to open it up.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make this too long because then it makes it harder to split it. It'll kind of start hanging up on you. And you lose a little. Then I'm going to take some dubbing. And this is actually some brown yarn and some gold, and then got a little fancy and I threw some UV stuff in here just for the hell of it. I think Lafontaine was actually starting to mess with that. He would take string, and on his scuds he would take the UV string and he would pull it over the back for a shell back, trying the UV thing, you know, because how this string glows. So they didn't have all this UV junk when he was doing that, so he was kind of ahead of his time. Okay, so
Yeah, Denny Rickards tried to sell me some of that spray at the show.
yeah. Really?
Oh,
A
yeah.
UV
He
spray?
couldn't keep a straight face when he was trying to sell it to me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure buying all that, but who knows. Okay, so I'm going to wind a body up to the front of the lead. Okay, now this yarn's got a twist in it, so what you want to do is kind of untwist it so it's kind of flattens it out. And you want to take each strand and you want to kind of puff it up. You don't want it tight against the body, you want it kind of loose. I'm just going to take, for now, a wrap there. Open this one up. And you want to try to get it all the way around it if you can. So it's kind of loose. Okay. Tie it down, cut this off. And when I would tie a lot of these, I'd save this and I'd make dubbing out of the rest there. So then I want to bring my thread back up to the lead. Now my preference for the legs is partridge. I brought a skin here. Oh, I think you guys have seen a partridge skin before, a whole skin, but this is a pretty good one. I'll pass it around, but this is a full skin, so the breast feathers are gray. When you see those soft hackle that's gray, that's where those feathers come from. And the saddle feathers out of here are the brown, and that's what I prefer. If you want to do tails on say a nymph, you want to take the feathers out of the wing, because the wing feathers are a lot tougher than the breast feathers. So I've tied some PMD nymphs, and the tails are the first thing to go. So if you use the breast feathers, they're going to be gone, but the wing feathers are tougher because the birds, they're just inherently a tougher feather. So that's where you want to get the feathers for that. So I'll pass that around. You guys can take a look at what that skin is. What I've done here, I've plucked a bunch of breast feathers out. Now the other thing is, you can find size 12 probably feathers to wrap, but when you get down to 16s and 18s, you can't find a feather small enough to wrap. So I'll show you a way to get around that. So I've got a saddle feather. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it up on this against the fly, and I want the fibers to be just about to the bend of the hook. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut the center of this feather out about that length. So you see, can you see that, how that's laid in there? I'm going to pluck a few more of these out of here. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay this feather. If I had a small enough feather, I could just tie it on there and wrap it. It'd be fine, but these feathers are going to be way too long. So I'm just going to lay it on top there, and where I cut that V out is going to be right about where my thread is. And I'm going to take my fingers, and I'm going to trap these fibers, and I'm going to try to kind of wrap them around that hook a little bit. Come in here with a loose wrap, and I'm going to kind of make a distribution wrap, so try to get those fibers all the way around.
You zoom in on that for a minute.
So you can see they're the right length. Now if I tried to wind a hackle, I couldn't get that. And if you get like an 18, there's no way you're going to get a partridge hackle that's small enough to do that.
Right.
It's just an easy technique, and you can use some big old feathers that you would normally wouldn't be able to use like that. So then I'm going to make a few more wraps here.
And so you want those legs to kind of stick out around to the
Yeah,
bend of the
yeah,
neck
and they're going to
stuff.
even stick out a little bit more when I wrap the ostrich for the head too. But yeah, you don't want them trapped too much against the body, because in the water they're not going to move. You know, you want them kind of.
And the length.
Yeah, the length's about. They can be longer than that, but I mean, ideal length would be about to the bend. You can make it a little longer. So that's just an easy way to use some big hackles that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So I'm going to bring my thread back up to that point. Now, like I say, my preference for the heads has always been ostrich herl. And I don't know if you've ever tried to wrap ostrich herl, but sometimes you'll wrap it and it looks great. It's like stacked up like the ones on mine, and then sometimes you look and it's all matted down. Well, there's a reason for that. Peacock and ostrich are both have the same cross section. So this is a cross section of a peacock, but ostrich is the same. So this is the stem, and these are the flews sticking out. So what happens is the stem is more to one side than it is on the other. So when you wrap this feather, you want this wide section to be toward the eye of the hook, because what happens is you wind this thing, it's like shingles. Now you can see that. So if this is the front of the hook, as I wrap, every time I wrap, the flews go on top of this flat spot. But if you turn it the other direction, every time you wrap, that flat spot goes on top of the flews. So if you've ever tied a herl head and say, that looks like crap, that's the reason. You've actually covered up the fuzzy part of the herl. So this when you do this, you can take it off either side of this feather, because the rights and the left both look the same, but you just have to look when you trim it which side is the flat side. And basically what it's going to be, you probably can't see that, but there's like a V, and that's the fuzzy side, and the other side is flat side. So when I tie this on, I'm going to want to tie it on away from me, and I want that flat stem to be pointing toward the eye of the hook. And I want it standing up. Usually when I do this, I like to kind of angle the head, the fly back a little bit so that it packs it back. And put a little bit of head cement on it. So if I've done this right, as I wrap it, each one of those layers of fibers are going to stack up one next to the other. You're going to get that nice fuzzy head. And in the water, these fibers kind of move a little bit. They're not as static as like dubbing. So you see how that's all stacked up like that? Now if I put it facing the other way, I'd be stacking that stem on top of all those fibers. So I'm going to take a couple wraps behind and I'm going to cut it off. And you get that nice fuzzy head out of there. And I'm just going to whip finish it. Okay, that's it.